Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, as you've seen there, Mr. Muhammad Abubakar joins us. He's a former governor of Bauchi State. He's a senior advocate of Nigeria and two-time Attorney General of Bauchi State. Good morning, sir. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
It's been a while. What have you been up to ever since you left government?
I've been practicing law.
Oh, okay. Judiciary.
Well,
and incidentally, there's a lot of focus on judiciary in
yes,
terms of whether or not it is indeed the last hope of the common man, because as you know, many have not been happy with judgments coming through, not just Supreme Court now, but almost across board. I mean, is this strange? Is it a strange phenomenon for you?
Well, the attitude and the commentaries are strange to me. But the happenings in the judiciary are not strange for the fact that in most cases, people do not even begin to understand what the judiciary is about, particularly with the advent of social media. We have a lot of commentators out there that do not begin to understand what law is about or how litigations take place. You see, every case is about the pleadings. The pleadings are what the plaintiff has taken to the court that he wants to be done for him, and the counters, the answers by the other party. So everything is about that, and then the evidence that is adduced before the judge or before the court, depending upon which court. So it is based on that and the pleadings and the evidence that courts churn out their judgments. So to a lot of people, judgments may look strange, but that is because they do not know what has been placed before the judges.
Are they not also predicated on precedents and principles of law?
Yes.
But that's what some people think, that it is inconsistent the way some of the judgments come.
Well, the inferior courts are bound to apply judgments of superior courts, you know. And the setup we have of the superior courts is that we have high courts, we have the industrial court, we have the Sharia Court of Appeals, and then we have the Court of Appeal, and then the Supreme Court. All right? The courts at the bottom are bound by the principle of stare decisis to apply the judgments of superior courts. But all depends on the facts that are placed before them.
I know that, in judiciary you say judgment must not just be done, but must be seen to have been done. But I hear lawyers even argue and say, for instance now, the most recent one, Kano, where I think the judge, because the response I read from the NNPP's lawyer, one of the lawyers, not counsel to the case, but a lawyer who is a member of the party, an official of the party, says that the judge cannot be calling them cultists. That suggests that, look, justice may not have been delivered on that fair and equity platform, so he finds it worrisome that he would descend and call them cultists. Say, if you don't deliver judgment, do it. Don't descend and begin to call us names. It suggests that there's more to it than meets the eye.
Well, you see, in most cases, what has been happening in Nigeria in recent times, you see lawyers, including my brother senior lawyers, you know, the senior advocates, jumping the gun to make comments on judgments of courts. The judgment of Kano Tribunal is 227 pages. I have seen people making comments before that judgment was even typed in the registry of the tribunal. I mean, that is not fair. You have not seen what has been placed before these judges before you now jump the gun and you begin to make comments. The judges are human, yes. They are fallible. We know that, all right? But when they sit in the hallowed chambers to evaluate the evidence that has been placed before them, You are not there with them. You do not know. I have gone through the judgment as best as I can. Like I said, it's 227 pages, all of it, all right? And I know the industry that has gone into churning out that judgment. Whether anybody likes it or not, that judgment is the judgment of that tribunal as at today, all right? As lawyers, we are bound to obey that judgment for as long as it has not been appealed against successfully.
My colleagues may have more questions for you on that matter, but let me ask you this. As a former governor, we know that recently the government did approve 5 billion naira for states for palliatives, of which 2 billion has been released to the states. But the question now is, because going through the economy, we know the exchange rate to the dollar, we know the cost of petrol across different parts of the country, and the people are feeling the pinch. Now, this is the president who has said he's prepared for this. He took his time. No one should, no pity party for him. He's ready to hit the ground and ensure things work. But as we speak, there are questions for states in terms of their policies and what they're doing to ensure that their people don't, that is, they cushion the effect. What is it that is, why is it always difficult, if I could use that word, for states to actually come up with policies that will impact their people positively? Because if they were, there won't be so much attention on the center.
Well, I think what is happening is that over time, as Nigeria was developing, we were creating states, not necessarily on the basis of sustainability of these states. We created them for many other reasons. The reasons may be valid, the agitations for the creation of these states may be valid. But there are states in Nigeria that do not have the requisite economic base for them to succeed and to survive. So maybe this is one of the reasons bedeviling the states. It's not the lack of policies. The policies may be there, but the ability to put practice to these policies.
Is it ability or resources?
Well, ability as in resources. That's what I mean. Okay, ability as in resources.
If we could just step back a bit.
Yeah.
The states have been created, all right. Okay, for whatever reasons they were. But I doubt there's any state in Nigeria that does not have a resource. Maybe not developed, maybe not sought yet.
Natural or human?
Natural resources.
Both.
Okay. Both natural and
natural
human resources.
And human.
Okay. So that question again of looking to the center, and many times we find out, no, we have to ensure that we are aligned with the center for us to benefit from the center. But there are things that can be done within the state. I mean, every state generates revenue somehow. Maybe little, maybe much. Some states have more, some states have less, but they generate revenue. So those are taxes. What about developing the resources, the natural resources, that within every state? Now, some might say, it's the government that owns all the natural resources beneath
the federal government.
The federal government. But there are licenses the federal government gives to states to mine these resources. So how are they not going in that direction?
We go back to availability of resources. A lot of, for example, the state I govern, we have a lot of mineral resources. But mining these mineral resources, even if you're able to get the license from the federal government, you need the resources to do that. And you will discover that at the end of the month, after we have made the pilgrimage to Abuja for the FAC, all right, and we get back home, and we were able to now pay salaries and pay pension. What remains may not even be able to take care of what they call in government mandatories. Mandatories are, example, feeding of school children in the boarding secondary schools. Mandatories are buying diesels and buying drugs in hospitals. Mandatories are providing potable water for the citizen. Mandatories are paying for power that you are utilizing. So for you to be able to even take care of those, in most cases, you are unable to do that.
But I hear you, I understand that. But what I don't understand is, for elections, we see the way the campaigns go. 10 different people vie for the slot, right from party primaries to the main election itself. They all say we want to lead. We want to change the state. We want to bring down Dubai. We will turn this state to Dubai. And then they get in there, not even one industry. Some of them spend 8 years, not one industry works when they leave office as governors. You can't even see them publish their budgets for these states. The National Assembly can't hold them accountable. If people ask questions there, sometimes they arrest the people. So you ask yourself, so what was all that about then, if at the end of the day, they'll be filled with excuses?
Well, I think there are certain basics that we need to address. Nigeria at 63.
Yeah.
There are two ills that may appear very, very simple everyday issues that we haven't been able to take care of in the 63 years of independence of Nigeria. And that is the scourge of illiteracy and poverty. Unless we're able to take care of those, there are so many things that will not go right. Democracy itself will not go right. I have learned that the hard way. You go out during election with a sachet of clean or Omo. You are able to sway a voter to vote one way or the other. It's not because that voter wants to do that, but because of illiteracy, he doesn't even understand the meaning of that one vote that he has. It could change things. Because of poverty, maybe if he's able or she is able to eke out 1 meal in a day, she doesn't have anything remaining, or he doesn't have anything remaining to be able to afford a sachet of clean or sachet of Omo. So that makes that sachet of clean or Omo very, very important to that person. So unless we're able to conquer that, it's an uphill task for us.
Let's go to Lagos.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Mr. Bubakar, you know, the question Nyota asked is very, very instructive and causes need for reflection. You've talked about, you know, lack of resources being the limitation to investing in the development of natural resources, which is very, very important for the development of the subnationals. But I wonder if that is a tenable reason when you consider, you know, the amount that politicians spend on election petitions, when you consider the amount that politicians spend on their electioneering campaigns. Look at the Electoral Act, for instance, and see the ceiling that has been set by the, electoral umpire for the spending on presidential election, for the spending on governorship election, you know, and when you also consider that state governors have access to, an undetermined sum called security vote. So is it really tenable that subnationals do not have enough to develop their natural resources, which has the great potential to transform the regions of this country?
Well, to be very honest with you, when it comes time for politicking, a lot of resources is spent. But if you compare the resources, what states require to first and foremost run the states, you know, because you see, we're operating a system of government where you have 3 defined arms of government. And these 3 defined arms of government have to be run properly. You have to fund them to run. And then you have to pay salaries of workers. So the amount of money spent in electioneering and the amount of money spent during election petitions is pittance compared to what is spent on a monthly basis to sustain government in Nigeria. Maybe the solution is to look again at the system of government we are operating. Maybe it's too expensive for us. If there is an alternative system of government, we may do well to look towards that.
I wonder if that is the only solution. Perhaps we'll need more accountability, to look into the spendings on campaigns and election petitions. But to other...
I agree.
But to other matters now, particularly when it has to do with the economy, the president has been, making pitches, presentations to the international community about, the potential that Nigeria has for investment, saying that Nigeria is not poor and Nigeria has an abundance of natural resources. And the investment will go to the subnationals. But I wonder if you're also thinking about how confident that investors would be in the economy of the country when you consider the continuing weakening of the naira against the dollar. The question that may be asked is, can the CBN guarantee, the investment of these investors, considering the weak naira against the dollar?
You see, it's. I think to me, it's the question of which comes first, the chicken or the egg. If we are able to attract huge investments and we're able to develop the resources, particularly the mineral resources in Nigeria, the effect of that will be to strengthen the naira, because we'll be in a position now to export quite a number of the products we are going to manufacture. So I think if the investments come, it's a good sign that there's a sign of light at the end of the tunnel economically.
In Nigeria.
Hello?
Would you invest in the Nigerian currency? Were you an international investor?
You do not invest in the currency. You invest in the country. You invest in the resources. And whoever comes to invest, they must have done their homework. If they agree to come and invest, be sure that they have done their homework. They know they are going to get return for whatever they are going to invest in this country. And the multiplier effect is that the naira will be strengthened. Because right now, we are a consumer nation. That is what is causing the problem for the naira, basically. We do not produce and export anything. We import everything, including toothpick. So this is the basic problem.
I'm looking at a report now that is listing the natural resources in Bauchi State, and I'm wowed. At a glance now, I'm seeing about 20 natural resources, mineral resources deposited under the ground in Bauchi State. And the question on my mind is, having been governor, how difficult is it for the state governments and the federal government to collaborate to mine or to explore some of these mineral resources for the development of the state, as my colleague has asked? I'm asking that particularly because of that conundrum we have where the governor is in charge of the land, but the federal government owns the resources under the ground. So how is that? Don't you think there should be some kind of collaboration that will make it possible for the states to explore these resources, to develop themselves, and repatriate some funds back to the federal government?
Well, unfortunately, so far, what we do is to only pay lip service to this collaboration between the federal government and the subnationals in the development of the resources of these subnationals. For example, when I took over in 2015, I inherited a moribund company that was incorporated purposely to develop the mineral resources in my state. When I called the MD of the company, I asked him how many licenses we had. he told me that we had virtually no license, and that was our own. So I told him, as a lawyer, I said, look, I know I am in charge of the land in this state. So we are going to devise a means whereby, at least, even if we do not get these licenses, we will now buy in to the existing companies that are prospecting for minerals in my state. What I will do is that I'll write them that I'm revoking the CFOs of all those sites. And then they will be forced to come and sit down with me and negotiate. We did that. And then the second thing we did was to approach the federal government. We took stock of the licenses that were given to various briefcase holding companies that had not started anything in the States. We now reported all this to the federal government, the mining cadastre, and these, some of these licenses were revoked, and then we applied for these licenses to be given to us. In addition to that, I was able to commission a company based in the Czech Republic to come and do a survey for us of all the resources, particularly during my time, gold was discovered in Bauchi State. So I told them to particularly look at the gold because I first noticed about the gold because of the security situation that they were creating. Those artisan miners were creating. Within a short period of time, there was an influx of more than 5,000 people into my state, some of them from neighboring countries. They took over a primary school near the site where they were forcefully. They took over forcefully a primary school. So I had to go there with the commissioner of police and the brigade commander. This was the first time I knew that it was gold that was discovered there. So for that reason, I commissioned the company to do a survey for us. They did, during my time, wrote a report, and the report, I trust, must have been handed over to the incoming government in 2019.
Well, there are many areas that we're not able to touch because we press for time, but I think we'll have to schedule some other time because several things that lots of people want to understand about how do we move the country forward, because I don't know anyone, any Nigerian who doesn't want this country to move forward. So we'll have to find time to schedule another session with you so that we can explore those matters and more to contribute to our quota to see how we could develop the country. But we have to thank you for coming on this morning, sir.
Thank you very much. I'll be ready anytime.
Absolutely. Mr. Muhammad Abubakar is a former governor of Bauchi State. He's a senior advocate of Nigeria and two-time Attorney General.